In the cold, dark expanse of space, a massive alien communication array pulsed with urgent energy. Signals burst across light years, carrying a message of absolute desperation. The Confederation of Stellar Civilizations was facing total annihilation, and they knew their time was running out. Captain Jason Park sat in the Earth's Global Defense Command Center, his eyes fixed on the incoming transmission. The holographic display flickered with strange symbols and fragmented data streams. Around him, technicians worked frantically, their fingers dancing across advanced quantum interfaces. The message was unlike anything humans had ever received. Broken images showed massive ships being torn apart by an unknown enemy. Entire planetary systems reduced to cosmic dust. The transmission spoke of a species called the Void Harvesters, a technological nightmare that consumed entire civilizations without mercy or hesitation. Dr. Hygiene Kim, the lead quantum physicist, analyzed the data with intense concentration. Her team had been working non-stop since the first fragments of the message arrived. Something about the enemy's technological signature seemed both terrifying and peculiarly vulnerable. "They're systematic," she muttered, zooming into microscopic details of the alien transmission. "Too systematic. Every attack follows a precise pattern." The global leadership was divided. Some argued for isolation, while others saw an opportunity. Humanity had always been an outsider in the galactic community, considered primitive, volatile, and unpredictable. Now, that unpredictability might be their greatest weapon. Commander Suk-Won Lee reviewed military simulations, his experienced eyes catching details others might miss. The Void Harvesters had destroyed civilizations far more advanced than humanity. Their technology seemed almost magical, ships that could consume entire planets, weapons that could shatter molecular structures. But humans were different. They didn't play by established rules of warfare or scientific understanding. In the transmission, the alien ambassador's holographic form looked exhausted. His species had tried everything: diplomatic negotiations, advanced weaponry, collective defense strategies. Nothing worked against the Void Harvesters. They were a force that consumed everything in their path, leaving nothing but cosmic silence behind. Jae-sung noticed something most would have overlooked. The enemy's attack patterns had a mathematical precision that suggested a critical weakness. Their technology, for all its power, was fundamentally rigid. It followed rules. And anything that follows rules can be predicted. Can be defeated. "We're not just going to defend," Jae-sung announced to his team. "We're going to fight back." The room fell silent. Fighting back seemed impossible. The alien transmission showed civilizations thousands of years more advanced than humanity being utterly destroyed in moments. Yet, something burned in the human team's eyes, a spark of defiance that no other species possessed. Dr. Kim's research began revealing unexpected insights. The Void Harvester's technology, while seemingly invincible, had fundamental computational limitations. Their decision-making algorithms were predictable. Their strategic frameworks could be manipulated. Humanity had something unique: creativity. Unpredictability. The ability to think outside established scientific and military paradigms. Commander Lee started designing adaptive warfare protocols that would make traditional military strategists laugh. Modular spacecraft. Quantum entangled weapons systems. Psychological warfare tactics that defied conventional understanding. The alien transmission continued playing, a constant reminder of the stakes. Entire civilizations reduced to cosmic dust. Billions of lives extinguished in moments. The Void Harvesters moved with a cold, calculating efficiency that seemed almost beyond understanding. But they hadn't encountered humans before. As the day progressed, Earth's defensive capabilities transformed. Orbital shipyards came alive with activity. Scientists and military personnel worked in perfect synchronization, creating something entirely new. Something the enemy could never anticipate. Jason looked at his team. They weren't just preparing for a battle. They were preparing to redefine what was possible in the universe. The transmission ended. Silence filled the command center. And in that silence, humanity's most dangerous weapon began to take shape, a plan that would shock the entire galaxy. The United Earth Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy. Scientists, military leaders, and political representatives gathered to discuss the alien transmission. Dr. Hygiene Kim stood at the center, her holographic presentation revealing something extraordinary. The Void Harvesters have a critical weakness, she explained, her voice calm and precise. Massive screens displayed complex data patterns that looked like intricate spider webs of information. Most believed humanity was too young, too inexperienced to challenge such an advanced threat. But Kim's team had discovered something unique. The enemy's technological system had predictable blind spots, mathematical gaps that could be exploited. Commander Suk-won Lee studied the data with a veteran's critical eye. He saw what others missed: potential. Where other military strategists saw overwhelming odds, he saw opportunities for unconventional warfare. The first step was understanding the enemy's computational framework. Kim's quantum research team began developing adaptive algorithms that could think beyond traditional programming. They weren't creating just software, they were designing digital intelligence that could learn, adapt, and predict in milliseconds. Global research centers transformed overnight. Universities, military installations, and scientific laboratories merged their resources. Brilliant minds from every corner of Earth worked together, driven by a single purpose: survival. Engineers started designing modular spacecraft that could reconfigure themselves during combat. Traditional rocket designs were thrown out. Instead, they created ships that could change shape, adapt weapon systems, and respond to threats faster than any known technology. Psychological warfare became a critical component. The team realized that the Void Harvesters' technological superiority came with a fundamental flaw: they understood computation but not creativity. Humans could think irrationally. They could make choices that defied logical prediction. "We won't fight their war," Jae-sung told his team. "We'll create a war they can't understand." Experimental weapons emerged from hidden laboratories. Quantum entangled communication systems that could transmit information faster than light. Adaptive armor that could change molecular structure instantly. Weapons that didn't just destroy, they confused and disrupted. The global population slowly became aware of the potential threat. Instead of panic, something unexpected happened. People united. National boundaries disappeared. Every human resource was directed toward a single goal: preparing for a potential invasion. Schools modified their curriculum. Children learned advanced computational thinking alongside traditional subjects. Military training programs expanded, focusing on adaptability and creative problem-solving. Dr. Kim's research revealed something fascinating. The Void Harvesters processed information like a massive, rigid computer. They could calculate probabilities with incredible speed but couldn't understand genuine randomness. Humans, with their ability to make seemingly illogical decisions, became the perfect counter. Manufacturing centers around the world began producing new technologies. Factories that once created consumer goods now churned out advanced defensive systems. Every resource was redirected, every human capability focused on potential survival. Commander Lee developed training simulations that pushed human cognitive limits. Soldiers learned to think beyond traditional combat strategies. They practiced adapting to scenarios that had no clear solution. Unpredictability became their primary weapon. The alien confederation watched with a mixture of hope and skepticism. Humanity was an unknown variable, a young species that most considered irrelevant. But something was changing. The transmission they sent wasn't just a cry for help. It was an unexpected opportunity. Jae-sung understood the bigger picture. This wasn't just about defending against the Void Harvesters. This was about proving humanity's potential. Showing the galaxy that being young didn't mean being weak. As weeks passed, Earth transformed. Every system, every technology, every human capability was being redesigned. Not to match the enemy's strength, but to create something entirely new. Something the Void Harvesters could never predict. The final piece of the puzzle wasn't technology. It was spirit. the human capacity to face impossible odds with determination. To see a challenge not as a threat, but as an opportunity to prove what they could do. Humanity was getting ready. And the universe was about to be surprised. The orbital shipyards above Earth looked like nothing humanity had ever constructed before. Massive modular spacecraft hung against the dark backdrop of space, their surfaces constantly shifting and changing. Each vessel represented years of innovative research, combining technologies that seemed impossible just months earlier. Dr. Hyejin Kim walked through the primary design center, her tablet displaying complex holographic schematics. The ships weren't just machines, they were living systems that could adapt and reconfigure in milliseconds. Traditional spacecraft design was dead. This was something entirely new. Commander Suk-won Lee watched training simulations with intense concentration. Human pilots were learning to think differently. Instead of following strict military protocols, they were being taught to be unpredictable. To make choices that defy traditional combat logic. "We're not building weapons," Jae-sung explained to his senior team. "We're creating a living system that can think faster than our enemy." The quantum computational systems developed by Kim's team were revolutionary. They weren't just computers, they were adaptive intelligence networks that could learn and modify themselves during combat. Where traditional AI followed strict programming, these systems could make creative decisions. Global manufacturing had been completely transformed. Factories that once produced consumer electronics now created advanced defensive technologies. Every resource, every human capability was focused on a single goal, preparing for a potential invasion that could determine humanity's survival. Training centers pushed human cognitive limits. Soldiers practiced scenarios with no clear solution. They learned to adapt, to think beyond traditional strategies. Psychological resilience became as important as physical strength. The experimental weapons were unlike anything in human history. Quantum entangled communication systems that could transmit information faster than light. Adaptive armor that could change molecular structure instantly. Weapons designed not just to destroy, but to confuse and disrupt. Military strategists from around the world contributed unique perspectives. Traditional warfare doctrines were thrown out. Instead, they developed strategies that emphasized creativity, adaptability, and unexpected response patterns. Satellite networks were redesigned to create a global defensive grid. Each satellite could communicate, adapt, and respond faster than any known technological system. They weren't just communication devices, they were intelligent nodes in a massive defensive network. The Alien Confederation watched with growing interest. Humanity was preparing in ways no other species had ever considered. Their approach wasn't about matching technological power, it was about creating something entirely unexpected. Psychological warfare became a critical component of the preparation. The team understood that the Void Harvesters processed information like a massive, rigid computer. They could calculate probabilities with incredible speed but couldn't understand genuine randomness. Dr. Kim's research team developed computational algorithms that could think beyond traditional programming. They were creating digital intelligence that could learn, predict, and respond in milliseconds. Each system was designed to be unique, to avoid predictable patterns. Space training facilities pushed human physical and mental capabilities to new limits. Pilots trained in environments that simulated extreme combat conditions. They learned to make decisions under impossible stress, to think clearly when everything seemed hopeless. The global population had transformed. Instead of fear, there was a sense of collective purpose. National boundaries had disappeared. Every human resource was directed toward a single objective, preparing for a potential existential threat. Jae-sung understood this was about more than survival. This was about proving humanity's potential. Showing the galaxy that being a young species didn't mean being weak or insignificant. As the preparation continued, something remarkable happened. The very act of getting ready was changing humanity. They were becoming something new. A species that could face impossible challenges with creativity, determination, and an unbreakable spirit. The universe was about to learn that humans were not just another species. They were something entirely different. Something dangerous. Something unexpected. And the Void Harvesters would never see them coming. The first encounter happened without warning. Massive Void Harvester ships emerged from dimensional rifts, their metallic surfaces gleaming with cold, calculated destruction. They expected another easy conquest, another civilization to consume. They were wrong. Jae-sung's voice crackled through the communication networks. "Engage adaptive protocols," he commanded. Hundreds of human spacecraft responded instantly, moving like liquid mercury against the dark canvas of space. The alien confederation watched in stunned silence. Humanity's ships didn't move like traditional military vessels. They danced. They shifted. They transformed mid-battle in ways that defied conventional physics. Dr. Hyejin Kim's quantum computational systems worked perfectly. Each human spacecraft became a living weapon, capable of changing its molecular structure, weapon configuration, and attack strategy in milliseconds. Where the Void Harvesters expected predictable resistance, they found chaos. Commander Suk-won Lee's tactical training became reality. Human pilots weren't just following orders, they were making split-second creative decisions. A ship would suddenly split into multiple smaller vessels, attack from impossible angles, then reconnect seamlessly. The Void Harvesters' rigid computational systems couldn't process the unpredictability. Their attack algorithms, designed for systematic destruction, began to fail. For the first time in their galactic history, they encountered an enemy that didn't follow expected combat patterns. Psychological warfare worked perfectly. Human communication systems sent deliberately confusing signals. Complex mathematical patterns that seemed random but contained hidden strategic meanings. The enemy's computational networks became overwhelmed, struggling to decode the information. One Void Harvester mothership suddenly found its internal systems compromised. Quantum-entangled viruses introduced by human hackers began dismantling its defensive networks from within. The ship's own technology became its greatest weakness. "We're not just fighting," Jae-sung told his team. "We're solving a complex problem." Massive energy weapons that would have obliterated other civilizations simply bounced off adaptive human shields. Each defensive system learned from the attack, modifying itself faster than the enemy could recalculate. The battle wasn't just happening in physical space. It was a massive computational chess match, with humanity making moves that seemed impossible. Ships teleported. Weapons transformed. Communication networks became living, breathing entities of strategic complexity. Alien observers from the Confederation watched in absolute amazement. Humanity wasn't just defending, they were systematically taking apart the most feared technological force in the known universe. Dr. Kim's quantum systems tracked every millisecond of the conflict. The Void Harvesters' attack patterns were being thoroughly analyzed, decoded, and neutralized. What seemed like random human responses were actually carefully calculated strategic moves. Commander Lee's training became legendary. Pilots made decisions that seemed insane but were mathematically perfect. A spacecraft would intentionally look vulnerable, then suddenly become the most dangerous weapon in the battlefield. The psychological impact was devastating. The Void Harvesters had conquered civilizations thousands of years more advanced. They had reduced entire planetary systems to cosmic dust. But they had never encountered a species that fought with such creative intensity. Hours passed. What should have been humanity's total destruction became something else entirely. The Void Harvesters found themselves pushed back, their supposedly invincible technology failing against an enemy that didn't play by any known rules. Jae-sung watched the battle unfold, understanding something profound. This wasn't just about winning a conflict. This was about proving that creativity, adaptability, and collective human spirit could overcome seemingly impossible challenges. As the first wave of Void Harvester ships began to retreat, something remarkable happened. Humanity wasn't just surviving. They were sending a message to the entire galaxy. We are here. We are different. And we are dangerous. The turning point had arrived. And nothing would ever be the same again. The Galactic Conference Hall buzzed with an energy unlike anything seen before. Representatives from hundreds of alien civilizations watched in stunned silence as human diplomats walked onto the central platform. Jae-sung stood at the center, his presence radiating a quiet confidence that spoke louder than any weapon. Behind him, Dr. Hyejin Kim and Commander Suk-won Lee represented humanity's new face, not just warriors, but strategic thinkers who had just saved multiple civilizations. The Confederation's lead ambassador, a crystalline being named Krell, approached the human delegation. His translators struggled to capture the complex emotions behind his communication. Respect. Fear. Curiosity. "You have changed everything," Krell said, his energy patterns shifting with each word. Humanity's victory against the Void Harvesters wasn't just a military achievement. It was a fundamental reshaping of galactic understanding. Every alien civilization now looked at humans differently. No longer were they the young, unpredictable species to be ignored. Diplomatic protocols were rewritten. Technological exchange agreements emerged that gave humans unprecedented access to advanced scientific knowledge. But unlike previous galactic interactions, humans weren't simply receiving technology, they were offering something unique. Creative problem-solving became humanity's greatest export. Where other civilizations saw challenges as mathematical problems, humans saw opportunities for innovative solutions. Scientific research centers across the galaxy began studying human cognitive approaches. The quantum computational systems developed during the war became a new standard. Adaptive technologies that could learn, modify, and respond became the blueprint for future technological development. Humanity had demonstrated that flexibility was more powerful than raw computational strength. Military strategists from different civilizations studied human combat techniques. The way human spacecraft moved, the psychological warfare tactics, the ability to make seemingly illogical decisions that proved mathematically brilliant, these became subjects of intense study. Dr. Kim's research teams were invited to collaborate on projects that had been stalled for centuries. Quantum physics, computational theory, adaptive intelligence, humans brought a fresh perspective that broke through long-standing scientific barriers. Commander Lee began developing new training protocols for galactic defense forces. His approach emphasized creativity, psychological resilience, and the ability to adapt faster than traditional military doctrines allowed. The economic impact was tremendous. Human innovation centers became the most valuable diplomatic resources. Technologies, problem-solving approaches, and adaptive strategies became more valuable than traditional mineral or energy resources. Jae-sung understood the deeper significance. This wasn't just about winning a war. This was about proving that a young species could fundamentally reshape galactic civilization through creativity and collective spirit. Alien civilizations that once looked down on humanity now sought collaboration. Research partnerships, technological exchanges, and diplomatic missions became the new normal. Humans were no longer outsiders, they were key players in galactic development. The Void Harvesters' retreat wasn't just a military defeat. It was a fundamental challenge to their entire technological philosophy. A species they considered irrelevant had completely dismantled their supposedly invincible systems. Krell presented an unprecedented diplomatic proposal. Humanity would be given a permanent seat in the Galactic Confederation's highest decision-making body. Not as a junior member, but as a critical strategic partner. "You have shown us that strength is not about power," Krell explained to the human delegation. "It's about the ability to adapt, to think differently, to see possibilities where others see limitations." Research facilities across multiple star systems began studying human cognitive approaches. How did they think? What made their problem-solving so unique? Universities developed entire academic disciplines focused on understanding human creativity. As the conference concluded, something fundamental had changed. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had proven that being young didn't mean being weak. That creativity could be more powerful than advanced technology. Jae-sung looked at his team. They had done more than win a war. They had reshaped the understanding of what was possible. The new galactic order had arrived. And humanity was leading the way.